Hi and welcome to our penguin place setting tutorial. So I'm Alison from Felt and Dandy, and I just wanted to start off by showing you what you actually get in the penguin place setting kit. So carded wool is obviously an essential for every needle felting project, and we've got this beautiful charcoal blended colour here for the body of the penguin. We've got some lovely white and some orange for the beaks, and then we get into the accessories. So there's 6 of these little pearl pins for attaching the names to your place settings with, and then obviously you get 6 little stars as well, sparkly ones of course. And what have we got next? Some ribbons. So we've got blue and red polka dot ribbons as well as gold braid to decorate the cotton reels, some black felt for the wings, a little pot of iridescent glitter. Now in the test tube here we've got 6 gold crowns, 3 felting needles and 6 pairs of glass eyes. And then as you can see in the box we've got 6 of these little wooden cotton reels to act as the base, and 6 felt balls as well that we're going to use for the body, because they're really useful actually, because they do speed you up a lot. And a felt mat, and last but not least some instructions. So these just take you through each step. So as well as having the video to guide you, there's illustrated step-by-step instructions as well. So I'm just going to change the angle of the camera and we'll get started. So to get started, there's a few extra bits of kit that you're going to need, which is written on the instructions. So some super glue gel of some description, just because it sticks things really quickly. Some all-purpose glue, something like a bus stick, just for sticking your ribbons and things to the reel. Some scissors and a tapered awl. So all the basics really that we normally use. So to get started, now I'm going to take one little felt ball, which is going to become the body of the penguin, like you can see in Paul here, and we're just going to cover it over with the charcoal. So when you start, so I'm going to take a little bit of charcoal wool, and it's obviously got rough edges, so what I'm going to do is just fold it over, and that simply creates a really smooth line. So as when you wrap it round the ball to create sort of half of it you're going to leave white and half of it's going to become charcoal, it creates a really nice smooth line. So I'm going to pull that round really tightly, and then I'm just going to poke it in all over. If your wool doesn't stretch right round, don't worry, because you can just add more. I'm just going to pull this round and poke it right down in, so keeping your needle nice and straight so that it doesn't snap. Work your way right round, and when you get to the ends you can just overlap the fibres and they'll blend away into each other. So you just keep poking all around the edge. So it takes a little while but not too long, and all around like so. And then you've got this sort of bushy bit on the end, so you just hold it down with your fingers like so and poke it in. If there's loads and loads, if you put quite a lot of wool on it, just pull some away and then poke it in. So you keep going, so you can see these ends here are loose. Oops, there we go. And I'm just going to hold them down and poke them in. So if you hold the wool down to the ball, it's going to felt more quickly because there's less air in between. So if I was trying to poke this in with it all sitting tufty like that, it's going to take me forever. But if I just simply hold it down and push it in, it's going to felt a lot more quickly. So you keep working round in good old Blue Peter fashion. There's one I've already done. So you can see I've just kept poking until it's become smooth. And if you do have any sort of ball patches or whatever, just take another little bit of fibre and very simply just lay it on the surface and poke it in. Okay? So now to shape the face, so we're going to move on into steps 2 and 3 here really on the instruction sheet. We're just going to make a little rectangle to start to shape the face of wool, and again that's just going to be by folding it over. So you don't need much because it's only tiny. So I'm going to take a little bit of the grey fibre and I'm just going to roll it over on itself to create a little rectangle like so, and I'm going to fold it up on one end just to get rid of the hairy ends. So you don't need to really poke it, but I'm just going to put it on the mat so you can see. So we've got a little shape like so. So it's a little rectangle, and the top ends I've just let loose because they're going to blend away into the head of the penguin. So take your ball, and we're just going to position this on the front like so. So you want to get it sort of central so as it's even on both sides, because this is going to form the face of your little penguin. So I'm just going to poke that down in like so. And again, if you put it on and you think, oh my goodness, I thought that was a tiny bit of wool, and you put it on and it's huge, just pull it off and have another go. And yeah, you're going to be making 6 of these, and they're all going to be totally different. Each little face will be different, so don't worry too much about getting them perfect or anything like that. So just poke it in, and then these ends here, they're just going to blend away. So just poke it in like so, and you can see they just absorb into the rest of the wool and you don't see a line. So I'm going to poke that down a little bit. You can poke along the edges here, just angle your needle down, keeping it straight. When I say angle, what I mean is just the angle of entry, because you think, well, how can you angle it and keep it straight at the same time? But it's in felting. If you're new to felting, you're more likely to break your needle when you twist it. So you can go in at any angle to your work as long as your angle of entry and exit is the same, so you're avoiding that twist. So I'm just going to poke along the edge just to neaten it a little bit. Okay, now the next thing we need to do, because it's got rather sharp edges here, is just to create a little curve. So I'm just going to poke him in there for a sec. So I'm going to take, oops, I've already got a little bit here actually, but we'll do very, very little wool, and actually this is enough to do both sides. So I'm just going to tear those fibres in half, put a little bit aside for a second, and I'm just going to fold this over on itself just like I did with the bit for the nose, but I'm going to leave both ends just loose. So, but I've got a folded edge along the middle. And very simply, I'm just going to fill it in to create a curve on the top of the face. So I'm just going to taper that round, and you can poke it round with your needle like so. And again, the loose edges are just going to blend away into the rest of the grey. So I'm going to poke it round, and in a second you should be able to see the difference in the two sides. Now, sometimes I find that you get more white or more grey on the ball, and it doesn't really matter as long as you've got enough space to add your features, because they're all, like I said before, they're all going to be slightly different. So that's just curving it round, and if you can see the difference there, we've got a nice little curved shape here, as opposed to when we started with just this sort of triangle going on. So you're just going to repeat that on the other side. And again, there's one that I've done already just to save you watching me doing the same thing over and over again. So I've just created the two curves. So we've got, instead of just a white ball, we're now getting something that's starting to resemble a penguin, obviously. So now we're going to take a little bit of orange, and again we're going to be folding it. So felting is a lot of folding and wrapping really, as well as poking. So I'm just going to take a little bit of orange fibre, and actually I think this is maybe a little bit too much. So I'm going to move this penguin out of the way because I think you can see it better on the blue. So I'm going to take a little bit of that away, and I'm going to fold it over in half to get the smooth edge, but it's also going to give it a bit of body. And I'm going to fold it round to create a triangle shape. Can you just hopefully see there, if I carry on round, I've got a little triangle. So I'm going to give that a poke on the mat just to hold it. And then I need to fold these top edges down. Now, if you're doing it and you think, gosh, it's really, there's a bit too much fabric there, or a bit too much fibre, hold the end that you folded and just pull some of it away to make it smaller, so you've got less bulk. So it's really easy to adapt it. So I'm just going to fold those edges down now. My fingers are in the way, it's a bit small. You'll see in 1 second. I'll put it on the mat so you can see. So I've got a little beak. I'm not going to felt it fully because it's going to make it more difficult to poke it onto the face. Bits of grey out of the way. So I've got my triangle. I'm going to hold it up, and I want to cover over the end of the grey here. So you can just position it in the middle and start to poke it in. You could hold it in with a single needle like so, and then use one of your others to start to poke it in. It's quite small, so I'm just going to use the one for now so you can see hopefully a bit more clearly what I'm doing. So just poke it in like so. It will shrink in size as well, so as you work. So I'm just going to poke it all down first of all, and then I'm going to start to think about the edges. So I can poke in along the sides like so, and along the top and right round. Spend a little bit of time doing this. And you can see, just like we did on the curve, so poke it down in at the edges to refine the shape. And the more you felt, the tighter it will become and the smaller it will get. So this one's got quite a big beak. So right across and to neaten it. And now if it goes wonky, so it's fatter on one side than it is on the other, I'm just going to poke it in. I'm going to hold it into shape with my finger, making sure I'm not poking in the same direction as my finger. And I'm going to poke the fibres in, so I can actually push them with the needle as well to help to shape it. So you can see that starting to come in on the side. So don't be scared to turn your work around and manipulate the shape a little bit. Now, if you do get some grubby fibres on it when you're working, you can also cover over the white later, so we've got some really nice bright white wool in the kit as well. So if you do get some stray orange and grey fibres on your work, don't worry, because we'll deal with that in a minute or two. So just keep poking till it's nice and neat. I'm going to leave this now for a second because I'm quite sure you don't want to watch me poking a beak for much longer, but I think we're about there. There we go. So one little nearly penguin. Now he's going to need some eyeballs. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to mark position with the needles of the eyes, and depending on where you put these, sort of depends, it gives them character. So I'm just going to try them about there, make sure they're even. And then you can just wiggle your needle around a little bit and that will leave a hole. So to put the eyes in, you're going to need your tapered awl. And all I'm going to do is push a hole in. Now I'm going to go quite deep because the ball is quite dense, the hole will close over quite quickly. And the last thing you want is to end up with eyes out on stalks because the wool's closed over when you're trying to push the eye in. So I'm going to make quite a deep hole with these, but it also helps to add a little bit of shape to the face because you're pushing the wool back. Now I'm going to get two of my eyes here and I'm going to test them first of all, because although we've made a huge hole in the little guy's face, it will close over again if you don't like where they are. So I'm just going to have a little look. Yeah, I'm happy with those. So I'm going to take it out and I'm going to stick them in with some super glue gel. Now you could use other sorts of glue, but I quite like this because it holds really quickly. The only problem is if you miss, it does dry instantly when it hits the wool. So you want to make sure that just redo the hole, because just in that moment or two that I've been talking and getting my glue organised, it might have closed over enough just to stop me pushing the eye in fully. So I'm just going to dip the post in a tiny little bit of super glue gel, push it straight down in and push and hold, because that way it's going to dry to the fibres deep inside the ball and get you a really nice secure finish. But it also recesses it a little bit. You can see there, just the angle of the camera picks it up, it just makes it, I think it makes it really cute. So I'm going to do the other one in the same way. So just redo the hole now that I'm ready to stick. Whoops, have a fight with the eye. So there we go. And poke it in and push and hold. So we have a little penguin starting to come to life now. I do like glass eyes on things like this because they twinkle and it just I think it gives it a nice finish. Now, he needs some wings, bless him. So in the instructions there is a little template just here for the size of the wings, so you could trace it off or you could just cut it out from the sheet. So I've cut mine out already, so I've just cut out these two little wing shapes from the sheet felt that you get in the kit. And what we're going to do is we're going to cover those in grey fibre. The reason we use the felt is it gives it a little bit of strength without having to make the wing too bulky. So I'm going to take a little bit of grey fibres, and I'm just going to make sure they're all going sort of one general direction, and I'm just going to lay it over the wing shape, but I'm going to let the fibres hang over the edge of the wing a little bit. So in a second, when I've poked that in, you'll be able to see what I mean. I'm going to use a different needle. So just going to tap it lightly, and then I'm going to peel it off, and hopefully you can see there's the grey, the black wing in the middle with the bits of grey coming through, and we've got grey edges here. So I'm going to fold those. So just like wrapping a present, I'm just going to fold those round the wing, work my way around. And again, if you find you've got too much wool that you think, oh gosh, I could wrap about 4 wings, just hold it down and pull away the excess. So by holding it down, it means you're just protecting the rest of your fibres and not pulling off everything that you've just poked on. So we're just going to poke it in like so, all round. And then all you need to do is poke it backwards and forwards a little bit, because by doing that you're pushing the fibres through the felt, and they're going to come out the other side. So you just see there, it's really hairy. So we're going to turn it and push them back through the other way. And we're going to keep doing that 3 or 4 times until the fibres are nice and firmly felted. Now you're still going to end up with a fuzzy side. So once they're felted, to avoid that, what we're going to do to get rid of this fuzz on the last time you felt it, so I'm just going to give it a few more pokes. So now it's, when I rub it between my fingers and thumb, the fibres aren't moving around anymore, so they've sort of mixed fully with the piece of sheet felt that's inside. So all I'm going to do is just on the hairy side, whoops, is just tap those fibres in, but I'm not going right through. So that way we're avoiding pushing them out the other side. And you can also then work around the edge of your wing just to refine the shape. Keep your nails down, because a felting needle behind your fingernail that's really not a good thing. So I'm just going to gently poke round the edges just to refine the shape, like so. And work your way all around, and you can also give it a little bit of a trim. So just got a few bits extra there, so just take your time to make it nice and neat. And if it's a bit fuzzy as well, you can also just trim it gently, or lightly I should say, with scissors, and you have a wing. That one could do with a little bit more refinement. Just poke it in along the edge to get the nice little teardrop shape back that we started off with. So one wing. So I've made a set, so I've just repeated it on the other side. So once we've got the 2 little wings, I'm going to find my penguin again, he's run off, we're going to attach them. So I'm just going to attach the wing on either side with the pointy side up, sort of in line with the eye, really. I think is probably about the best place to have it. And you can just poke it in with the needle like so, and the other one, just poke it on with a needle, and you can check they're even. So I'm happy with that. So just going to poke it in. I'm holding the other one just lightly on the surface, tap the other one in. So I'm just going to poke on the top end of the wing, so as it's loose on the bottom, so as I can put the name card underneath. So poke it in like so. So it's quite a speedy little mate, really. So all over the surface, we've got 2 little wings attached. There we go. And just refine it a little bit. So he's got his wings on the sides. Now then, he needs to go onto his reel. So there's lots of different bits and pieces here that we've got, and I'm going to start by sticking him onto his cotton reel. So for that, the best thing to do, again, is just use a little bit of super glue gel. Let's move the mat out of the way. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this round. I mean, you could use any glue and just leave it to dry for a bit longer. So, and then I'm going to get his wings out of the way, pop him on, and then I'm going to squish him down and hold him tight for a moment or two, just so as the glue soaks into the fibres, so that it doesn't sit on the very surface of it, because otherwise he'd be more likely to come off. So give him a bit of a squish. Seems a bit cruel, doesn't it? I'm squishing him. So hold it for another moment or two. I mean, you could leave yours for a bit longer. Take that away. So, and then we're going to decorate him. So there we go. He should be stuck now. You can give him a bit of a squish round to reshape him once it's fully dried. So the little crown then we're going to add on. We're just going to add a tiny bit, and again I'm going to use a super glue gel for this one. Just now, you can use the end of a needle. This hook end can be quite handy, especially if like a broken needle or something, and just tap on or dot on a couple of little bits of glue, not much, just a tiny little bit. Put that on there. Oops. And then I'm just going to stick that, and again pushing it down so as the glue sinks really well into the fibres. Just hold it for a moment. There we go, that's dry. So now then, I think I'm going to go for a red spotty one. So I'm going to decorate the little reel that he's on. So I'm going to measure it round to size and trim. Now I find that super glue does not work well with ribbon. It sort of soaks into it, stains it, goes hard and doesn't stick. Apart from that, it's super. So something like this bus stick I find is really quite good. So I'm just going to put a little line of it round the rim of, just under the rim of the cotton reel. I'm working from the back. Just going to stick my ribbon round like so. I've managed to cut the bit that I trimmed. So I'll just trim that bit away. There we go. So see, it sticks it really quickly. Then we're going to add a little bit of braid in exactly the same way. So I'm just going to cut the end off. I'm just going to cut the end off there so as it's nice and neat. And again, just run it round to check. Trim it. Trim it like so. And again, just run another line of glue round underneath. Watch his little wing. Don't want a gluey wing. So just run a line of it round and underneath. Using the bit I trimmed this time. Whoops. So get it round the right way, and then just going to run it round underneath like so, and hold it for a moment at the back. Just because it's a little bit thicker, just give it a bit of a squish. Whoops. There we go. So now let's leave him there like that. Have a bit of a clear up, get rid of these bits and pieces. So we need your star and one of the pins, and just going to put a little bit of glue onto the gold disc of the pin. Not much, just a little bit, and stick it onto the back of your star like so, and let it dry. You can see it's oozing out round the side, so don't squish it with your finger or you'll be very attached to your star. So you can write your name on it obviously before you do it, and the joy of those is you can just like redo them again, just cut more out if you're going to use them on it for somebody else. And then I'm just going to stick it through the side of his body, just underneath his wing here. And you can attach it with the pearl pin so that it looks like a little snowball. Like so. They then make nice little decorations even if you don't put a name on it, just to decorate the table with. And then I'm going to give him a little sprinkling of glitter. It's really nice and fine, this one. It's got a really nice iridescent shimmer to it. So give him a liberal sprinkling, tap the excess off, and you have a little penguin. So I hope you enjoy making your penguins. We'd love to see them. You can upload them to our Poking Fun social group. It would be great to see them. And thank you for joining us. Cheerio.